Alrighty, hi everybody. Welcome to the Roundup, episode 3 of our special inside look of all age. My name is Dylan, and today I have a very special guest. He served in the U.S. Army from 2006 to 2017, and he is currently in the Michigan National Guard. He is the program director of Northern Lights Drum and Bugle Corps, as well as Brass Ranger, Mr. Jordan Roberts. I'd like to
Hey,
welcome to the stage Jordan Roberts.
thanks for having me on. I'm very excited.
Oh, me too, Jordan. Thank you for joining. So, how did you get involved with? What is your backstory, and how did you get involved with all you do for Northern Lights?
I think the best way to start it is my backstory. I've always been a big music nerd. I did marching band all throughout high school, and I wanted to take it to the next step. So I checked out, all the drum corps that I could learn about, and unfortunately, I just could not afford it. It wasn't in the cards for me. So I've always enjoyed drum corps, but it's always been kind of on a back burner. Maybe someday I'll find some way into it. So rather than going on and marching with somebody, I enlisted in the army, and my job in the army was as a tuba player, and I did that for quite some time. I did it on active duty for 11 years. And while I was in, one of the things that I specialized in was arranging, specifically arranging for brass. I have hundreds of brass quintet arrangements that I've done over the years. And I decided that that's just something I really, really enjoy doing. And while I was in, a lot of times if I was serving near a school, I would reach out and see who needed a cheap show written or who needed some pep tunes written. And so, yeah, over the years, I kind of developed my own music writing company. And yeah, I've been doing that for quite some time now. Fast forward to 2023, and I was in here in Michigan, actually 2022. I was here in Michigan, and my my ex-wife Misty and her husband Doug and our kids, they were going down to Cincinnati Tradition to march, and it was such a pain. They were driving them down there, and I'd come down to see shows and everything. And we're super friendly, and we were just kind of chatting in our driveway, and we're like, what would it take to start something like this? So yeah, we made Northern Lights into a real thing. It was amazing when people actually showed up. We kind of figured it would maybe be a handful of us, but yeah, we had some folks show up, and so I decided to write us a show. And our first show was called Cathedral. It had let's see, it had music from the 1812 Overture, um, Elsa's Procession to the Cathedral, and Salve Regina, which is a Gregorian chant. Oh, and Engulf Cathedral by Debussy. And like I said, I love writing marching shows. I love writing marching music. So it was an opportunity for me to kind of get my feet wet with writing for this type of ensemble. Because before that, I'd written for plenty of marching bands, but this is different. You got like the writing for marching band and writing for drum corps is very, very different. So I was very lucky in my first year to have a guy named Sean Lee with us, and he writes for a bunch of schools in Michigan, and he really helped me out the first year. We also had Paul Cam write our front ensemble stuff, and John Wilson for our battery. And so our first show, it was we kind of bounced it back and forth, and we originally thought that we had 9 minutes to write for, and turns out in sound sport you don't have 9 minutes, so we had to quickly kind of cut some stuff and rearrange it. And I'd say it went pretty well our first year. Um, but yeah, it's been a really, really fun process, and I just love writing.
That's incredible. So, how has I know you guys. I've been watching you guys on Facebook like crazy, and just seeing the growth. So, how has that really determined how different the writing is from year to year, um, from an arranger standpoint?
Yeah, so that's actually that's a great question. our first year, we had no idea what we were going to have. So we basically wrote everything so that we could do it with as little as 7 people. And as we kind of saw our numbers, we saw we had more numbers. We were able to beef up some of the parts, and we weren't able to write our battery or front ensemble parts until we already knew who we had. So it was kind of stressful the first year. The second year, our show was Ignis, which was music of Mahler's Second Symphony, Holst's Mars, Holst's Dance of the Spirits of Fire, and Firebird, by Stravinsky. And we kind of had a better idea of who we were going to have. Um, Although I was still blown away by the amazing growth that we had. So I think we were a little bit more prepared for what we were expecting, and the music was done a little sooner. And front ensemble and battery, again, it kind of took a while because we didn't really know what we were going to have. And battery, you have to know exactly what you're going to have before you write those parts, because am I writing for 5 bass drums or writing for 2 bass drums? Who knows? So we did finally get our numbers, and we had that music out. This year, as of right now, we have a ton of interest requests, interest forms, and we are expecting to field a full size core this year. Like, we may be pushing the limit in our first year in All Age, which is super, super exciting. And because of that, we're writing for a full ensemble. We're also just something that we've talked about within our writing team, to add a little bit of sizzle on the top of our sound. We're actually going to march a handful of E-flat cornets. So the high end is going to, yeah, definitely. That high end is going to sound, it's going to have a real nice sound. I know Crown did it this year. And one of our local universities, Michigan State University, marches E-flat cornets, and it's kind of a unique sound, and it adds to the high range without it. How sometimes like the trumpet one parts, it can get up there and really screaming parts, and if your trumpet one players don't really have the chops for it, it can get stringent and sketchy. And we have some real strong trumpet one parts, trumpet one players. But we also wanted to have that extra little sizzle on top. So that's going to be awesome. Another thing we did last year that we're definitely implementing again this year is we're adding a bass trombone part to beef up the tuba line. That tuba sound, now I'm a tuba player myself, so I'm a big fan of the tuba sound. But adding that bass bone sound to the tuba sound just kind of makes it a little angrier, makes it cut through a little. So we're really excited to be doing that, because this show this year is kind of an angry show. It's an aggressive show. We did just announce it. It's Sweet Dreams, and the main theme is Sweet Dreams by Eurythmics. But it's also it's going to have just a ton of music in it that people will recognize. And yeah, it's going to be just a very dark, aggressive show, and we wanted a sound that really represents that. So this year we took a really holistic approach to writing it, and to be honest with you, the writing is almost done. Our team is really, really efficient, and our goal is to have all of the writing done before the first audition camp, so that we can just rock and roll and make this thing, as you just tighten it up as much as possible and super clean when it hits the field.
Wow, that's really, really cool. So, I know you said the writing's almost done. How early did you start writing the show?
Yeah, so that's a great question too. One of the things that we do at Northern Lights is we've really made it one of our main missions to be as accessible as possible, because personally I never got to march, and it was for a bunch of different reasons. But one of the ways that we've made it accessible is the first 2 years were all public domain music. And in my my music writing business, I've found that the sooner you get your copyright stuff taken care of, the better, because that is like the worst feeling ever, is the show's coming up and you haven't gotten the rights yet. And we never want to go down that path. So we went really, really far in advance. And like our board chat, we really bounce ideas off each other all the time. It's a really collaborative group, and we're constantly bouncing show ideas off each other. Like what would sound cool on the field, and this show idea, it came up. I mean, I started writing little bits and pieces of just the non copyright stuff. I started writing bits and pieces of it. I want to say it was like back in February, which I know is crazy. Like we're not even really into last year's season, and I'm already writing next year's show. But that's how far in advance we take this, because we want to provide an amazing show for our marchers, and we want to provide that amazing experience, but at a fraction of the cost. Like there are some places where we don't have brand new horns. We did just buy a very new to us used drum line, but we don't have to do all the fancy things, but we still want to provide an amazing experience. And so part of the ways that we do that is just by writing a good show. And I'm very, very fortunate to have an awesome team around me that's helping me write it. Our percussion writer, I've collaborated with him on a bunch of things. We actually wrote some music for some local schools here and a local university. And yeah, it's just a great team. I'm so excited. Like any opportunity I have to brag about them, they're so great. We have two front ensemble guys that are just top notch. I don't even know how they do what they do. Like I said, I'm a tuba player. I know brass, but man, they really take these basic ideas I sketch out and really make something amazing. So, but yeah, that's kind of how we do it. We go way in advance, and our plan is to have all the music written before our first audition camp, and then all of our drill written by April, which is the end of April is where we have kind of our move-in camp. It's not like a real move-in camp because we are all age and we only do this a couple weekends a month. But yeah, we want to have everything ready to go so that we don't need to spend that much time fixing and rewriting and, oh, this isn't going to work, because we will have already figured things out before it goes out to everybody.
That is really cool. I was just sitting here laughing at just how early in advance you guys start. Wow. So before we get too far, you are the program director. Can you explain what that is and what you do in that role?
Yeah, absolutely. So our board of directors, we have obviously different people that do different things, and based on their own specialties. And my specialty is just really strictly the music stuff, and the show concept stuff. So as program director, I'm overseeing the show writing process. So we have a visual team, we have a drill team, we have a show writing team. And my job is to collect ideas from our board. Like I said, we're always bouncing ideas off each other, and then I make sure that gets implemented. I'm also the brass arranger, so I mean, I personally have my hands on some of that stuff. But eventually, if somebody else is the program director, they'd be overseeing all of that too. So overseeing all the brass writing, all the percussion writing, all the visual writing, and all the drill writing.
So you really have an in-depth hand in every aspect of what it is to bring a show to life, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. And pretty much we get this whole thing together, this whole package, and then deliver it to the core. And then the past couple of years, what I've done is for the first few rehearsals, I just kind of make sure that it's implemented, and to the way that we envisioned it. And then I'm also there to answer any questions. This year is going to be a little different, and I'm actually really, really excited about it. For the first time, I actually get to march on the field, doing drum corps, living my dream. I get to march, and I'm so excited about it. I'm going to be in the tuba line, just honking some fat notes, and so yeah, I'm going to have a slightly different role this time, But we have a fantastic educational staff, great coaching staff. Where other folks have like caption heads and techs, we have coordinators and coaches. And yeah, I'm super excited to be approaching it from a different perspective. So selfishly, I'm writing some pretty awesome tuba lines because I'm going to be playing them myself. But yeah, that's kind of how we do it here.
That is so cool. You know what? It amazes me because I was talking to the other week. I was talking to Doug, and he was saying I asked him how he handles being the director of the corps and marching. It's like you guys have so many hats, and it's cool to see that you guys as working on the show, writing the show, involved in the daily operations are still able to fulfill your dreams and march. I think that's just incredible.
Well, to be honest with you, I feel like that's one of the really beautiful things about all age and about sound sport is you can do these things. And I mean, it was difficult getting it set up. I'm going to be honest with you. It was a little difficult, but it's doable. And if you have a group of friends in whatever area you're in that have that drive, you can do it. And what's amazing is DCI has it set up now so that you can do that in a way that is effective, and you can grow, and they'll help you grow. They give you the tools. So I'm going to be honest. I'm so excited about this specific era of DCI and this specific part of DCI. I think it's going to explode, and I feel like this is so good for our activity. This is the future of our activity, and I'm honestly I'm excited that you personally are bringing this to light. This is a really cool thing, and being on trying to be on the forefront of it. That's exciting. So I'm just really excited to see how all age develops over the next few years and how Northern Lights fits into that. I mean, we are we are very excited to be doing the all age thing. We want to provide marching opportunities to everybody, like we have marchers that are 10 years old and we have marchers that are in their 60s, and that's just it's awesome. It's really what's beautiful about all age.
Yeah, it's been really cool because like watching you guys and the other groups that are moving from sound sport to all age, I can't wait to see how that all works out and like where you guys really place within these other groups that have such a storied history, but yet here you guys come, brand new core in the all age activity and willing to just throw down and see what happens. And I'm really excited to watch you guys. And as a fan, it's just incredible watching the growth of some of these newer groups that have just sprung up like in the last couple of years. It's just the all age getting absorbed by DCA, getting absorbed by DCI has. I think it's just grown the all age activities so much, and it's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And anybody that was in Indianapolis for that to see it this year, there's no denying it. There's no denying the numbers. I know that a lot of folks on social media were like, "Oh, it's going to be terrible. The sky is falling." Well, you know what? It isn't. It's really not. The activity is strong. There's some great things happening, and you know what? We're excited to be part of it. And because there are so many great all age corps with so much history, and we are so excited to be in with them, to be marching on the same field as like Reading Buccaneers, and man, like it's just so cool. We're to be in the same sentence as some of these folks. Cincinnati Tradition, they're awesome. We love them. Like, and that's also one of the cool things about it is all age. Everybody just kind of gets along, like I'm sure they're, like over the years we'll develop some fun rivalries and everything, but it's all about making this art form and advancing this art form and just having a great time doing it. So we're very, very excited to be part of that.
Yeah, I'm excited for it too. It's just really cool. So you write for a couple groups, marching band, high school marching bands, for drum corps. How is every writing for each group different in the way a show comes to life, implementing drill, or how does all that work? If you
Yeah,
know
that
what I mean.
absolutely. That's a great question, and that's actually like, yeah, I love the process. Really, it depends on who I'm working with. So, for example, um, like my daughter's high school marching band, they reached out to me, and he had the teacher. He had an idea. He's like, "Hey, I want to do a show about Vikings." And go. And he turned me loose on it. So I started listening to a bunch of music. I was like, what sounds like Vikings? And just brainstormed, came up with some ideas. So there's a brainstorming session that happens. And we ended up picking out for that show specifically, we picked out My Mother Told Me, which is like the Viking theme song. It's on a bunch of different things. We picked Finlandia by Sibelius, which it's kind of a Nordic piece of music, and it just sounds cool. War Pigs by Black Sabbath, Ocean Eyes by Billie Eilish, and Entry into Valhalla by Richard Wagner. And we just kind of wrote it all together. And what's cool about that one is this show, I kind of threw some ideas together, bounced them off the teacher. He gave some good feedback. And then once I had some concepts, I basically did like a timeline with I did a timeline with kind of like stock recordings of each song, chopped up a little bit, just to get an idea. And then I was able to start the actual writing process. And I was able to collaborate with our percussion writer, Jacob Camrat, who that dude is amazing. Can't say enough good things about him. And then we actually used our drill writer from last year, Chase Captine. He wrote the drill for that show. And yeah, basically we have in today's digital age, we just have a bunch of group chats, like a group chat for each show. And for this show, we talked ideas, like what's some good visual things, at which point, what all happens. And basically we took the music, and then Chase took the visual ideas and created something awesome. And I'm super excited to see that that will be in competition this Saturday. And I'm proud because my daughter's marching, so that's exciting. She's a big drum corps head, finally gets to march in high school marching band. But yeah, so that's like one way. Now, the way that we do our shows at Northern Lights, we have a group chat with our board. We just kind of bounce ideas off each other, and we take some of those ideas, and if it's a really, really good idea, we'll keep it, and if not, that's okay. We try not to be judgmental and don't laugh at each other's ideas, because I come up with some pretty goofy ones sometimes, honestly. And yeah, we just once we settle on an idea, we do a lot of timelining, because with this timeline, we want to figure out how the energy is going to flow throughout the show. So like, for example, Phantom Regiment this year, amazing show. And it had an amazing energy. The whole show,
Oh yeah,
it took you places, and at
that show
Indy,
was incredible.
absolutely. At Indy, the last minute and a half, everybody in the stadium was on their feet. And it was because of the way that the energy flowed throughout the show. So we study great shows like that, and other shows throughout history. I mean, I could go on about my favorite shows forever, but we kind of study those, and we write out the way the energy flows throughout that. And then based on that, then we take our musical selections and kind of plug it into that formula that works, where this is our high point, this is our high point, this is our high point, and then transitions between. And it works, like it just, it's so much easier than other ways that I've written before, because that wasn't the way I used to write. I would start at the top left and work my way to bottom right, and what happens. This way the planning makes so much more sense, because when we're doing this, we're already coming up with like some big visual ideas, like, oh, this is where like the main character does this cool thing, and what can we do musically to show that, you know? So yeah, like I said earlier, it's kind of more of a holistic writing experience this year, and it's kind of a new experience for me in my writing, but it works, and this is what we're going to be doing moving forward, because like I said, we are way ahead of schedule, and I'm pretty happy about that, you know, especially given my military background. Deadlines are big for me. I don't like going over a deadline. I don't like being late. I just, you know, it grates on my nerves. So I yeah, this way works. And unfortunately, we don't always get this opportunity. Like as a show writer, I don't always get this opportunity to have a full year to work on music. Like there's a couple local schools I write for where it's like, hey, we have an emergency and we need you to fix it. We need a show by such and such a date. What can you do for us? And in those ones, you have to really truncate the whole experience, but try to get a product out that is competitive and sounds good. And then also one of the universities that I write for, a lot of they change shows every week, and it's like, hey, what can we learn in a couple of days? You know, and mostly that stuff's drill because they use a lot of stock arrangements. But yeah, writing drill, and that's another big thing. The difference in writing drill between like a 250 piece university band versus a competitive high school band versus drum corps versus like your average Friday night, we go and play for the football team band, which there's nothing wrong with. All marching arts are valid, no matter what you're writing for. Like, there's a lot of differences in writing drill and the whole visual planning for drum corps. It's an interesting animal all of its own, because it's over the past few years, it seems like drill writing and visual writing has become an arms race. You know, who has the coolest thing? Who has the coolest prop? Who has the coolest thing that people are talking about forever? Like the sun, Trooper's sun, Last Wing of the Sun. That thing is awesome. And it's funny because my mother-in-law actually has a little garden thing, you know, like it is that sun. It's just small. It's a garden ornament, and I can't look at it without thinking about Troopers. You know what I mean? Because it's one of those things that just sticks out to you, you know. And so yeah, I feel like visuals have become kind of an arms race within drum corps. But then Vanguard went and totally turned it on its ear.
Oh
They
yeah.
I love that. I absolutely
Oh
love
yeah.
that, because you watch the old videos. I mean, you go back to like Star of Indiana and stuff, and
Oh,
that's
they had
just
some crazy
clean
shows.
marching, you know, clean marching. They don't have a million things out there. And you know what? The way it was versus the way it is, there's tons of arguments happening about that. And one isn't necessarily better than the other, they're just different. And so for our show, we try to exist within what our mission is and what we try to be. So we are actually going to have, for the first time, we're going to have a couple props, nothing too crazy. But the idea for us, we don't want to spend our money on that, because we feel that there's other places that we can spend our money that will make that experience better for our marchers. But this year, it's in the budget. We got it. So, you know, we're going to do that. But yeah, like I feel like drill writing has changed so much over the past few years, and it's really interesting trying to stay at the forefront of that and see what happens. And we have somebody awesome in this year who's going to be joining our team, and yeah, we're really excited. We try to there's a book I read recently, Good to Great, which is actually just a business book, but it talks about one of the ways to go from any organization, go from good to great, is to put the right people in the right spots. And we have some great people, and we've also added some great people, and we've shifted some people into spots where they'll be more successful. Uh, but we have Natalie Brady joining us this year, and she has written drill for a bunch of folks, and she's going to be our head drill writer. I'm going to be kind of assisting as is needed, but probably not much at all, because she's just flipping awesome. And yeah, I'm really really excited about where our visual writing is going to go this year. You know, it's interesting.
So, when it comes to drill, how is writing a sound sports show different than writing an all age show?
Yeah, so the sound sport performing area is much smaller, and I am absolutely drawing a blank on how big it is. I want to say it was 30 by 20, but don't quote me on that. Whereas with all age, you're using the whole field, and okay, using the whole field in quotation marks because yes, you should be using the whole field, but like there's some kind of tricks that I've picked up over the years of writing for different groups, and even though yes you're using the whole field, really you're kind of using certain spots of the field for certain things, and there's some trickery behind it, you know. But yeah, basically just the stage is so much larger and you have so much more you can do. um we Last year at Sound Sport, we were one of the larger groups, and we it got a little cramped in there, honestly. I mean, we made it work, but with 95 people on a small spot like that, it got a little tight. So we're very excited about expanding to the full field next year.
That's cool. So, when it comes going back to the music process, how do you what is the process of taking, like, this year I started listening to this the some of the um now what's it called? The source
Like the
music.
yeah source material, yeah.
So how do you take the source material and pick what chunks of the show you want to use for the show itself?
Yeah, that's wow, that's a great question. So that just comes with a lot of listening. We listen to a ton of music and have a lot of musical conversations. And yeah, a lot of times we'll just in listening, we'll find like a 30-second chunk of a piece of music. We'll throw it in the group chat, be like, hey, this is really cool. This would go well with such something else, you know? And then so yeah, you're basically finding little chunks and nuggets of musical moments. And then see this is the tricky bit. You take those and then you have to translate them into brass and percussion and front ensemble. And so you have to have kind of an idea of what you want to hear and what you think would sound cool. And a lot of times, I mean, effectively it's arranging music, but there's a lot of composition that goes into it. Like because a lot of times you're taking music that exists and really using it as a vehicle to write something new. Um, for example, in our show next year, I'm not going to give anything away, but we're using a piece of music from the Romantic period, but it's going to have like a progressive metal feel. And what's cool about that is, you know, the original composer would have never thought of something like that. And you know, just because it wasn't, you know, there was not progressive metal in the 1890s. Fact, I learned that in music history. You know, but so we're just kind of we're taking chunks of music and making them into something that we feel would be entertaining, you know, and both entertaining and supporting the overall overarching story that we're trying to tell. This year's show is very story driven. And yeah, I can't go into too much detail about that yet, but I mean, I'm like so excited about that hitting the field. It's very story driven, and so we use little pieces of music and like how does this music make you feel? How does this music represent the emotion of, say, like a character on the field? How does this make the listener feel? And we want it to all tell a story. So there's a lot of just chopping up music and rearranging it, rewriting, and yeah, by the time it's presented, it's not like the original really at all. It's recognizable if you really know the source material, but it's its own thing by the time it gets on the field.
Yeah, I've always wondered how that all works because I really started digging in this source material for this 2024 season, and just hearing it and then hearing it in the shows, it was like, ooh, that's cool how they did that. And I was wondering how that arrangement process works, and really, really cool. Um, how many people are working on your team to build the shows that you're building now?
So in our in our Northern Lights programming group chat, we have 12 members. So and that's everything from board members who always offer great input to writers, our percussion writers, front ensemble writers, visual writers, color guard writers. Um, we actually have, and I'm really excited about it. We have a high school student who is a fantastic writer all on his own, and he's a part of our group as our intern, just kind of seeing how everything goes, so that he can further his own career. So we have all sorts of people in there. We also implemented this year quality assurance team, and so they're in there just to make sure that everything looks good, everything sounds good. Because we don't want to do a bunch of rewrites. We just don't have time for it. And I hold myself to a very high professional standard, and I shouldn't be doing a bunch of rewrites because it's my job to provide something that's ready to go. So we have a quality assurance team that goes through all the music, all the scores, make sure there's no issues with it, because we don't want to waste time in rehearsal on questions that really resulted from me not doing my job correctly. So we have a quality assurance team, and that way all of our rehearsal time can be devoted to just making an amazing product.
That's awesome to hear that process. So, as a program director, are you responsible for what the final product is? Do you have to, does everything have to go through you before it hits the field in the summertime?
Effectively, yes. Yeah, I have the last say on all of the show writing stuff. And then once I feel comfortable with it, I bounce it over to quality assurance once again, because we send it over to them a couple times throughout the process, just to absolutely make sure everything's good. Send it to them, they're happy with it, and then once we're all good and happy with it, then we present it to the educational staff, and then they teach it. And then that's the show. And then so last year, because I wasn't marching, last year just kind of listened to rehearsals, answered questions where I could, and then kind of sat on pins and needles and saw what score we got. No, I was very, very happy with it. I mean, anytime you have a musical score in the 90s and you wrote the music, it feels pretty good, So we're hoping that this year we have similar results. And I mean, obviously, it's a different scoring system between Sound Sport and All Age. But I tell you what, we're gonna put in that effort. We're gonna put in quality writing, and we're hoping that we come out and just rock the world and have a great score. We don't want to take away from anybody. We just want to earn what we can, and if we earn first place, that's going to be awesome. If we don't, but we go out and play a great show, still going to be happy because we got to do something amazing.
That's cool. Just a question on the scoring. Were you guys scored when you had at the opening show of the season, or was that just exhibition?
Yeah, we got a score, and we got plenty of feedback. Um, and actually, let me see our score for that one. We had a 76, a 73, and a 75, which worked out to a 74.667. And that was for our opener. And obviously, we did a lot better at the end of the season. But I tell you what, like those scores they're important because they kind of tell us what direction we're going. But more so, what's important is the feedback we get from the judges. DCI has some amazing judges, and their feedback was so helpful, and we were able to make some changes on the fly to address those. And yeah, that's one of the reasons we were as successful as we were at Soundsport Finals.
That's really cool. So for this year, are you guys planning to have the full show done on the field by the opening night, or are you just gonna have it more like last year where you weren't quite finished with the whole show?
Well, now obviously I would always prefer to have everything done ASAP. However, because this show is so story driven, we will actually be implementing different parts of the story for different shows. So we will actually have we have a plan for where it ends at the opener, the opening show. We have a plan for where it ends in our mid-season shows. And then we got something really special planned for our send-off show here in Michigan and for Indy.
Ooh, that is so cool, and I can't wait to see it. That is so awesome.
Yeah, we're very very excited. Yeah, this year, I mean, I get excited about every show I write just because, I mean, you put a lot of yourself into your music, but this show, ooh, I get goosebumps just listening to it, and yeah, I feel music very emotionally, so um, just going to DCI finals was such an emotional experience because,
Yeah.
I mean, that's they've been going all summer, and that is the best performance. They leave it all on the field, and we are so looking forward to leaving it all on the field this year and just making a statement. That we're not going anywhere. This is where we belong. This is our new home, and we're going to be around for a hot minute. So don't sleep on us.
Yeah, truly. I know I was watching Blue Coats on finals night, and that ballad, something with that one note, just brought a tear to my eye, and I was just like, "This is some beautiful music." And there were so many powerful shows this year. It was just incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's another thing that we're so excited about this all age experience is marching on that same field. That's so cool. Like it's going to be a great experience, and we have our fingers crossed so hard that everything continues to go smoothly. We've been really doing a lot of behind the scenes work to make this work, and not just to make it work, to check the boxes, because that's not who we are. We want this to exist for years after we're done doing it. I want in 2072 or 2073 for there to be a 50th anniversary show that my grandkids march in. Our great grandkids are, God only knows by then. Um, we want Northern Lights to be around for the long term, and so we're setting things up to be that way. And we're just hoping that, yeah, that that effort gets acknowledged and that we'll be on that field.
Yeah, I've just been amazed watching just from a fan. I don't even live near Michigan, and it's just so cool to see the growth, the intentionality. Like last night, I mean, on Sunday night, yeah, last night was Sunday. I listened to the interest meeting, and I live in Pennsylvania, and I was just interested in what you guys and just the way you guys have it all planned out, all structured out, planned for success, and it's just truly incredible the growth that you guys have, and with everyone saying, "Oh, drum corps is dying," but yet seeing the hard work and the growth that you guys have seen over 3 years, and that you can max out at 128 members this year, like I want to know the numbers for audition camp. Like I just I'm excited for you guys, and it's just incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. I would challenge anybody that says drum corps is dying, the sky is falling, all of that. I would challenge them to come out to one of our camps in Newaygo, Michigan. You will not be able to go to that camp and walk away with a bad feeling about what's happening in DCI all age. This activity is vibrant. It exists and it's going to continue to exist. And they got the right people doing it now too. You know, like they have the right people in the right places for this to continue to grow. So we're all just really excited to watch this continue to grow.
Yeah, me too. I have two quick fun questions to end this podcast out. What were your as a brass arranger? What was your favorite show, your favorite brass book, and why for the 2024 season?
Yeah, that's such a hard question. I mean, I don't want this to come off like I'm disparaging any cores because there were so many people that came out and just played their tails off. But for me as a brass guy, Phantom, that sound was just unreasonable. Yeah, uh, yeah, Phantom Regiment sound this year was it was so good, just so awesome. Yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about them. Although to be fair, there were a ton of shows that really stood out as great shows. So, but yeah, for me, Phantom that was my favorite.
Yeah, Phantom was really good. Like that ending, oh my goodness, it was just wild. And then, what were your top five shows of 2024?
Ooh, okay, top 5. So, yeah, again, this is a tricky one because I have probably different criteria than other people do. Um, wow, top 5. So let's see. Number 1 for me has to be Phantom. Number 2, Troopers. I loved it. I love their show. 3 for me is Bluecoats. That doesn't necessarily mean that any of them are actually better than the other ones. These are just the ones that stuck out to me. 4, Spirit of Atlanta. Those creatures, such a cool thing. And I loved it so much, and at the same time, I hate that idea already exists in the world now because it was so cool, and I would love to have come up with it first, and I didn't. So that's probably 4, and then 5. Oh yeah, the Boston Crusaders. Sorry, yeah, that one. It's hard to order them, so I'll just say that those are the top 5 in no particular order except Phantom Regiment first.
Yeah, I tell you what, these shows were just incredible, and I feel like since the return, the 2022, the shows have just been from design to music to drill. It's just been take every year taking it out one step more and more, and just getting better and better and better, and it's just been amazing to watch. And now with all age added, like watching the Reading Buccaneers, I got to actually see them live for the first time ever in July, and oh my, they're so good.
Yeah, we're so excited to be on the same field as them. That's going to be great. And yeah, I agree. I think this was one of the first years that I can honestly say there was not a single show that I just plain didn't like. There were some that were obviously better than others, but I don't remember a single show that I didn't like. And I saw every show at semifinals and at finals and it shows throughout the year. There wasn't a single one I didn't like. I love it. We're in a great place.
Yeah, I'm just so excited to see where Drum Corps goes this year, and with any other groups possibly entering the evaluation portal. I'm excited as a fan, and That's one of the reasons why I want to start this podcast, because not many people are having the conversations that me and you are having, or being able to just have an hour conversation with some directors or arrangers or even member perspectives that's coming down the road. So I'm just excited, and I love doing this podcast thing, and it's been quite a journey, and it's been fun too.
Yeah, it's thanks for having me on. I mean, it's a pleasure to talk about this. This is one of the things that I'm most excited about, in my life. I mean, they got kids, number one, then wife, then family and drum corps. I mean, obviously, kids, wife, family, that's up at the top. But yeah, I mean, drum corps is just such a great activity. So thank you so much for having me on, and I am so excited to hear your future podcasts.
Of course. Thank you so much, Jordan. Just stay on the line until it's finished uploading, and thank you very much. And I hope you have a great evening.
Awesome, thanks so much.
Thank you everyone for listening to this episode of the Roundup. If you can also find us on YouTube at the Roundup Podcast. There, please like and subscribe and comment below if you like what you hear. Also, if you'd be interested in learning more about participating in the podcast as a featured guest, please email me at doxenrider@gmail.com. That is DOXENREIDER@gmail.com. Or you can comment below on YouTube or on Spotify. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed this episode, and have a great day.